Declawing is one type of animal abuse. It used to be okay over 20 years ago, but now they found out it's actually an amputation and not, it's actually removing a part of themselves, which actually causes a psychological damage to the cat's psyche after they've declawed it. Abandonment, getting, like right now we have such, the comedy's gotten really bad and people have to find a place for themselves and their families where then they think, okay, I'm just going to let this dog loose, or I'm going to let the cat loose, and hopefully they'll make it on its own. And versus, maybe hopefully taking it to the Humane Society, and there's always a chance that the cat or dog might be put down, but it's better than no chance at all.
Okay.
What's the other form of
I think another form of abuse is if you have a dog and you leave it tied up in the yard and there's no interaction with the family, as opposed to having the dog in your home and being part of your family. And a cat as well. Getting a cat, putting it outside and not letting it in the house to be part of the family, and not providing the proper food, proper doctor care, dental care, and etc.
not having the animal, whether it be dog or cat, spayed or neutered,
Okay,
which adds to the population of too many cats and too many dogs. And then the cats are born outside and they end up with diseases or they die because it's too cold or too hot and nobody's there to provide for the mom or whatever. So I think that's a form of abuse. Not spay and neutering is going on all the time. There are people who breed kittens or puppies and then go ahead and let the public buy the cat or dog without it being spayed and neutered. And this is how we got this young man right here. And apparently somebody had puppies and then gave the puppy away to somebody who wasn't able to care for it. They came to Petco and said they could not keep it, so we took it. The same thing happens to cats. They don't get them spayed and neutered, and next thing they're walking in here saying, I have a litter of 4 or 5 kittens. You either take them, I have to take them to the Humane Society, and most of the time they'll end up being put down, or have a pregnant mom. Yeah. So that's a form of abuse.
When animals are not adopted, we keep them in our homes until they're either adopted or till they die. But hopefully, most of our animals will get adopted. Otherwise, they go to the Humane Society and hopefully will be adopted from them. But in the peak seasons, when we're right in the middle of kitten season, there's no way they can place all their animals. And so they euthanize hundreds of kittens and cats and puppies and dogs. The general public can prevent animal abuse by becoming educated. Learn about spay, neuter, learn about what happens to animals when they're abandoned and how they suffer. And just being responsible pet owners. Realize that these animals have feelings too. They should become part of your family. And if they're not part of your family, don't adopt or take in an animal. I think people abuse animals because they're just uneducated or they're not aware of the feelings that animals have for people, and they don't really care. They're just not animal people, and those kind of people should never, never have an animal.
If somebody had a litter of puppy and kittens, some people come by and say, oh, I want to have that puppy, and they just give them that puppy or just give them that kitten.
And then when they grow up,
the thing is they're cute when they're puppies and kittens, but they do grow up. And once they grow up, a lot of people don't want that puppy or kitten. Or they have a bunch of young kids. It's Easter time, it's Christmas time, whatever holiday it is, I want to get a puppy or kitten for my child.
Or a rabbit, or
Not
a
even
chicken,
thinking
or a
about the
bunny, or a
responsibility that
duck.
there is with a kitten or a dog. And they get the cat or the dog for the child. Child doesn't want to be responsible for it. It's the parent that needs to be responsible. But it doesn't happen. So therefore, that's when the animal then becomes abused because they put the cat or dog outside. I don't want to do litter boxes. The kids won't take care of it. They're not going to take the dog for a walk. The next thing you know, it's running around the neighborhood, gets hit by a car, or ends up in the pound because it's been picked up. And the people really don't want the animal. Sometimes you really need to know who you're going to be giving this animal to, whether it be dog or cat. And if you don't take the responsibility to find out who you're giving it to and know about the people you're giving it to, the likelihood is the dog or cat's not going to survive.
There's hundreds of litters of kittens under every bush. Alviso is probably the biggest non-neuter spay area that we have run across, and we have spent weeks out there trapping and spaying and neutering. And there's one family that he has, we couldn't even count the amount of kittens he had, and he refused to let us spay and neuter them.
He was the one that was feeding him rice, right?
He was, and there was another one out in Alviso that was feeding kittens rice, and which is so bad for them because it's blindness.
Around in the
There are
street.
dogs
Oh, you-
running
yeah.
all over the street in Alviso, up and down. I just can't believe there's more animals not hit by cars because people race up and down those streets. It's a small little community, but it's just teeming with animals just wandering loose.
I think they should pass a law that all animals have to be spayed and neutered unless they're being by a breeder who licensed breeder. Now,
Puppy mills.
if the state made laws that would help the animals, which then prevents the people to do things that are illegal, which is breed
Puppy
dogs and cats and whatever, or use them for fighting. If laws were made
money.
to help, then I think all this would be less of an issue as far as abuse.
If the state made it more affordable for people to spay and neuter, you can go to the Humane Society, but sometimes you're on a waiting list for 6 months before you can get them spayed or neutered.
Low cost.
And it is a low cost. They need to have more programs in the state like that. I think that would have more responsible pet owners being able to spay and neuter versus just letting them loose, letting them overpopulate, and we wouldn't have an issue of abuse or overpopulations.
Right.
Our adoptions have been very, very, very low. And in the way that hurts us and the community is that we cannot rescue any more kittens that are in need. And unfortunately, our foster homes are way down, which would take the kittens when we do trap and spay and neuter. Because of that, most of these kittens that are being born now will end up in the shelter. And the chances of them being adopted and getting homes are slim to none. So if you feel that you're in a position that you can adopt a kitty, please come and see us. We need you. And so do the kitties.